everyone, and thanks again for joining us for CM's 10-Minute Tuesdays. I'm Mickey Straub, and my co-host is Joe Templin. How you doing, Joe?
Absolutely awesome, my friend.
That's great. And by the way, I'm glad to hear you have your new office, new digs. Congratulations. That's always exciting. But I know you're very clear on the topic we're going to be talking about today, about knowing your why. And this is going to be part one of a two-part series, Know Your Why and the Secret of How. And Joe, you had said something to me earlier that that was just incredible, and I want to make sure you shared that with our audience today.
Yeah, and we talk about the art and the science. We talk about the logic and the emotion. We talk about discipline and passion, and you need both to achieve greatness. And it comes down to this: if you don't have a why, you won't start. If you don't have a how, you won't finish. And starting and finishing is what is necessary to achieve greatness and to help the people out like we do.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Speaking about the why, and one of the most popular writers in this last decade is a guy named Simon Sinek. I know you know the name well. His book is called Start With Why, which I read, and it's fantastic, and it's great metaphors and stories. But I know it requires two parts. First, you have to know your why. But if you know your why, but if you don't know your how, you're not going to accomplish it. But to your point, I love that quote: if you don't have a why, you won't start, and if you don't have a how, you won't finish.
And as you can see over here, I've got a copy of Choices, Creating a Financial Services Career, the book that I wrote with Dr. John Stolk. And the entire first chapter is, what is your why? Because in the recruiting process, a lot of managers are asking this, what is your why? Why do you want to come into financial services? Why do you want to sell insurance and financial products? Why do you want to go through the hell that you're going to go through? Simply because this is not an easy profession. And there's a reason why close to 90% of the people fail out. It's because of not a strong enough why, or they don't develop the hows properly, which we'll talk about next week. But the why is what drives you on those bad days when you'd rather crawl under the desk and cry because underwriting did not go through on that huge case, because the client that was going to take the big policy decided not to, because people are mean to you on the phone, because you're not getting introductions, because your manager's yelling at you. There's all this negativity around our industry simply because we get told no regularly, again and again and again. And the why is more important than the yes. The why is the most important three-letter word. It's what powers us through all the BS in what we do. And the philosopher / psychologist Friedrich Nietzsche actually summed it up very well. He who has a why to live can bear almost any how. If somebody put a gun to your head and said, you need to go and make $50,000 in the next 2 months selling financial products, or else I'm going to take out your kid, guess what? You're going to do it. If your why is that strong, you're going to figure out a way to make it happen. And so, it is the why that provides the power to then have the activity that is needed to have success. And the activity and the skill set is the how that we'll talk about, next week and throughout our discussions. But really is that fire in the belly that I need to do this for X reason. And that X has to be so much bigger than you as an individual that it will overcome your fear. That's why, firefighters rush into burning buildings to save somebody. Okay, it's not because they're crazy. They're doing it because they have to save this person. This is why a soldier is going to, do heroic deeds, not for themselves, but because their why is so large. This is why we do the little things in our relationships, like bringing the cup of coffee or saying good morning, doing the dishes when we don't want to, picking up our socks, all those little things that we really don't want to do. It's because the why is so strong that it overcomes the fear or the inertia or the various other things that want to prevent us from being successful.
One of the first times I heard a variation of that quote by Nietzsche was a motivational speaker named Les Brown. And he said, if you know your why for living or accomplishing any particular goal, you'll overcome almost anyhow. And it's that really hit a core with me. And it's interesting because that's the times that I've achieved the most is when my goal was clear and I was committed to achieving it. Whether it be a small goal of sit-ups or praying the rosary or building a building or doing a 50 capitals trip, I had to be very clear on what that why is. But the other part of that, kind of like part two of the why, is you have to remind yourself, I think, because we have so many distractions these days that pull us in different directions.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, the important becomes urgent. And you get distracted, you get off track. So I think one of the things I think has helped me out quite a bit, and I'd love to hear from you as well, is how do you keep on reminding yourself of that why?
Well, that comes back to partially the visualization. And so I don't have it up yet, but my why is I buried my best friend at 43 years old from leukemia. And his kids are going to go to college. In fact, my godson's going to college right now because of some of the planning that I had done previously. And so that is my big why as to what I do, why I do. Mm-hmm. And so I don't have it up yet, but I'm going to put up a picture of Rich and I and the rest of the dream team to remind me every single day as to why I pick up the phone and deal with people being mean and rude and stupid and obnoxious and all the other things that we have to deal with, because that why is so critical. Because if I don't do it, who else is going to take care of those kids for our clients? Who's going to be there to bring the check? Who's going to be there to lay the groundwork so even if nothing bad happens, they can go to college? So that down the road, when we're 65 years old, we can be sitting on the back porch having beers together because they saved enough money. Who else is going to do that? And so having that picture of my buddy there to reinforce that every single day is one of the little ways that I can honor his memory, but also stay true to my mission of helping people. And so every one of our listeners needs to find their why and then reinforce it on a regular basis, because that will then give them the intestinal fortitude to find the how.
Yeah, that's a great point, and I'd like to reiterate that because you need to have those reminders around you at all times. You mentioned earlier about the soldiers. That's why they, our military services, certain men and women in service to our country, do what they do. That's actually top of mind right now as I'm in the middle of preparing for Armed Forces Day event on May 15th of this year. It's designed to help honor and thank all those serving in our military, and you have to thank them for their commitment and knowing what their why is. And speaking of which, that right behind me is the flag, and that's a great symbol and a great reminder to all those patriots out there and everyone in the military and every citizen should be reminded of what that flag stands for. And what the why is, why this nation was started, this greatest experiment in the world, and to know your why, and especially in this business, as you said, you got to keep that why in front of you at all times. Your story of your friend never ceases to make me stop and ponder and remember some of the things that have motivated me in my past. But I love that, and to appreciate you sharing that again. And any final thoughts on knowing your why?
The why is what's going to provide the fire, that the passion to make sure that you can ultimately win, because sales is an activity game and introductions give you the ability to win the game every single day.
Make it a great week.
You too, my friend.